Hello everybody, hello, and welcome. Today is the day. This morning, probably about like 10 hours ago, we went ahead and we completed The Last of Us 2 on Survivor difficulty. It took about 30 hours to do so. And that's a large part because it's survivor mode, so I was really scrounging for supplies and stuff like that. But it's also just because I was looking for collectibles and dying. I died a decent amount in the game as well. This review is going to be a bit different than my other reviews. Typically, I go spoiler free on my reviews. However, The Last of Us 2 is a very unique case where not a lot is shown to you in trailers, and as a result, talking about essential gameplay mechanics could be considered a spoiler. So, here's how we're going to do things. I'm going to give my spoiler-free review of the game. Please note that this is going to be purposefully ambiguous due to the fact that I do not want to spoil anything for you guys. However, after I give the score for my spoiler-free review of the game, I will then be going into spoilers. After that period, I will give all of you a warning when we get there. I will then be going over specific parts of the game in order to describe the reasoning for the score. So typically I just give the score, that's it, spoiler-free review. However, I'm going to also include the spoiler talk just so you can understand my rationale for my conclusion. To review this game, it's honestly really complicated. This is the most complicated game I have ever reviewed, for sure, because it is most definitely impossible to review this game objectively. Typically, I like to come at games from an objective standpoint. I eliminate all bias and I look at it on a pros and cons basis and give you guys the rating based on that. However, with this game, the story is extremely subjective. I have met many people that absolutely despise the story. And I've met less people, but still some people, that absolutely love the story. I fall somewhere in between. But that is going to be the most determining factor in the review, is how you, as an individual, react to the story. And I can't tell you how you're going to react to the story. So that's why, in my opinion, this is the most subjective review I've ever given. And I'm going to be giving it to you as objective as possible, but once we get to my opinions on the story, that is 100% subjective, and results will vary there. So let's get into the objectives, the objective cons and pros here. And honestly, objectively, there's a lot of pros in the game. If you take a look at the graphics, the voice acting, the motion capture, the cutscenes, the cinematography, the attention to detail, the sound design, the music in the game. Every single one of these technical aspects is a 10 out of 10. There's no doubt about it. I have yet to meet a human being that thinks otherwise. These are all just objectively 10 out of 10 things. All of it is superb. It is AAA quality, quadruple A quality even. Some of the best that we've ever seen in a video game. Definitely up there with Naughty Dog's best in terms of graphics and voice acting and all of that. All of that is a 10 out of 10. And this is why the game is so complicated, because on a technical basis, the game is a masterpiece. It is phenomenal. It is a 10 out of 10 in every way, shape, and form. However, once you get past the technical aspects and you get into the writing, the narrative, and the story, which is conventionally why people are going to be playing The Last of Us. It's why everybody played The Last of Us 1. That's where you start to hit your issues. But let's not get there yet. Let's go ahead and still remain on the pros and what I believe is the objective pros. Controller disconnected. Come on, controller. Don't do me like this. Or I'll plug it in so it doesn't disconnect. But I am somebody, just to preface this, I am actually someone that thoroughly enjoyed The Last of Us 1's combat. Now, not a lot of people enjoyed the gameplay of The Last of Us 1. Most people just like to play the game for the story. And the game was even criticized for that, saying that it should have just been a movie and that you should just watch the cutscenes. I actually disagree on that point. As I replayed The Last of Us Remastered, I realized how fun the combat is, how enjoyable the stealth is, and most importantly, when shit does hit the fan, the AI really contributes to this deadly game of cat and mouse where you're using your listening, not the listening in the game, actually using your headphones, and trying to figure out where the enemies are. They're flanking you. They're doing all of these really smart maneuvers, and you're one man just trying to stay alive. That is a really fun game of cat and mouse to play. A little bit of deadly hide and seek. I really thoroughly enjoyed that in The Last of Us 1. However, I thought it was glitchy as hell, very rough around the edges, had a lot of issues with hitboxes and hit registration. It definitely had a lot of kinks that needed to be ironed out that were unfortunately never ironed out. And as a result, I think the gameplay suffered. On top of that, the upgrade system was quite lacking. It was kind of boring in The Last of Us 1. Whether those are their character upgrades, just being, you know, your listen distance or your HP, making that higher, crafting speed, right? It's all very conventional, generic, not that interesting, right? From a gameplay perspective. The great thing about The Last of Us 2 is that it has refined and elevated the gameplay experience in every way, shape, and form. There is not a single place that I personally feel the gameplay is lacking. I've heard some people state that they got bored and that the gameplay was repetitive, and I honestly do not understand that standpoint. I really don't. I think that the game does a fantastic job of mixing it up with the enemies that you're fighting, with the levels. The levels are the biggest thing that really changes the game. In The Last of Us 1, you would have these really small corridors where you're fighting, you know, 3, maybe 4 guys. Once you kill 4, maybe a couple more spawn in. The most you have is, I believe, like the Firefly section, which is probably about like 20 guys. But the levels aren't very large. In this game, the levels are huge, like very, very large. There's sometimes often 5 or 6 different ways into one building. Even there's high grass that you can prone in and sneak around. There's things that you can parkour on top of to get onto the roof, to get elevated sniping positions. There's so many different ways to come at every single situation, and it really does lend itself to some invigorating gameplay. It made it so I never got bored of the gameplay because the levels were so interesting. And if I ever got overwhelmed due to the sheer size of the levels, I could run, break a glass window, hop into a thrift store. Those guys are going to think I'm in there. Maybe I set a bomb outside the door, a little trip mine. Then weasel my way through a crack out into the high grass behind the building, slither my way through an alley to get the flank behind them. They open up that door, trip mine goes off, they're dead, maybe a dog is dead too. Now they're freaking out. I have the position behind them because I've weaseled my way like some sort of deadly serpent behind them. And now I can have the upper advantage, even though I'm just one little girl versus an entire platoon of guys. It's very, very satisfying, and the level variety is really what lends itself to the gameplay never getting stale for me. I honestly do not think that the gameplay gets stale, and I am very excited to start my second playthrough, which I'm actually about to start now, just because the gameplay is so good. But do keep in mind, I am one of those weird individuals that actually enjoyed the gameplay for The Last of Us 1. But I think that they just did a fantastic job here. The headshots in this game are some of the most satisfying headshots I've ever played in a video game. Just the mist of blood, the blood splatter, the sound, the feel, everything about it just is so rewarding to sneak around and pick dudes off with headshots. It's just a really, really fun experience. Highly enjoyed it. I did play on Survivor difficulty, so, you know, my gameplay was less actiony, more stealthy than, you know, if you're playing on normal mode. Honestly, if you're playing on normal mode, you can just swing your dick around. You're going to have a million bullets. It doesn't matter what the hell you do. You can just shit all over everybody. Even more so if you're playing on easy or super easy mode. But Survivor mode gave me a good balance. Most of the time, I still had enough stuff to work with, other than just a few times. But those few times where I didn't have enough stuff to work with, it was because I was missing headshots. You know, I was hitting some body shots or just missing in general. So I really think that the gameplay is solid. The RPG mechanics are further fleshed out in this, so now you have a lot more control over what type of character you want to build. If you are more stealthy, you can go down the stealth tree. You can unlock faster dragging when you grab people, so you can get them around that corner faster so their friends don't see, all the way up into a faster takedown that gives you a lower profile, so you're actually harder to spot. Or maybe you're about, you know, just going in with explosives. You can kit yourself out so your explosives are stronger, you craft more of them, they're easier to make, stuff like that, and you can just start spamming some nades, whatever works for you and whatever your playstyle is. And I found that that's a really, really enjoyable first playthrough, because you do have to pick and choose what you want. Even if you're finding all of the pills in the game, you're still not going to get absolutely everything, but you will come pretty close. One thing gameplay wise I am going to mention that has not been shown in any trailers. Some people consider it a spoiler, but I think it is extremely important to tell people. It is borderline false advertising that has not been mentioned at all. I will say it in the most unspoiler way possible, but you do play as two different characters, Ellie and another character. You spend about 40% of the game playing as this other character, and this other character basically just plays exactly like Joel from The Last of Us 1. So just picture the Joel from Last of Us 1. You can punch people to death, you know, which Ellie cannot do because she's smaller. You can, you know, you need shivs and stuff like that because they don't have a knife. Just picture Joel type of gameplay with that other character. Now, I do think this is spoiler free to tell people, and I think that people should know this because the game was advertised as Ellie and Joel going to avenge someone. We don't know what, but going to avenge someone or something, and that's how the game was advertised. And I believe that that is fundamentally false advertising, because that is not the game that you're going to get when you purchase The Last of Us 2. So just keep that in mind. I won't spoil anything for you, but that is not the game that you are getting. You're going to be playing approximately 60% as Ellie, but you will be playing 40% of another character. And I will say that this other character, people have very mixed thoughts on. You can't really say much about them without going into spoilers, unfortunately, but I thoroughly enjoyed the different gameplay that the second character brings. I liked how it swaps things up. I enjoyed playing as both Ellie and the secondary character, and I thought it was a good time from a gameplay perspective. Not really talking about a narrative perspective. Final little bit of gameplay that I'll touch on is that the melee system has also been vastly improved. Last of Us 1, it's literally just spam square. That's it, just spam square, and it's a very glitchy system. It's wonky as hell. It's been vastly improved in this game. I did still get a couple glitches, especially when you're getting close to walls. Things can get a little weird or low cover, but generally speaking, the gameplay is very solid from a melee combat perspective. Just with the simple addition of a dodge button being L1, the combat is deepened by quite a bit. Now there is an actual flow to it. There's a sort of dance that you have with your opponent where you're attacking them. You're paying attention to their animations so you can dodge, weave. It's a lot of fun. And honestly, that's about it for what you can say for objective pros. Like I said, I don't really need to go into the visuals or the sound design or the music or the voices, because all of it is a 10 out of 10. I have no qualms with anything. Every single technical facet of the game is truly unprecedented. The only thing I would say is a little bit of an objective con to me is if you have a PS4 Pro, you are unable to choose any settings. There is no high performance unlocked frame rate option or a 60 FPS version. You're just going to be playing the game at 1440p 30 FPS. You guys all know me. I hate 30 FPS, but once you get used to it, I got used to it with Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? And I ended up getting past it and really enjoying the game because of it. Same thing with this game. I just had to hammer it into my brain. You are playing a 30 FPS game. I had to go back about a dozen years to when I was actually playing 30 FPS games. It's been a while. And you know, I'm not a fan that they didn't give you an option, especially after playing Last of Us Remaster. But I mean, the game looks so fucking good that it's whatever. I'm sure on PS5 we'll be able to hit 60. Now it's time to go into the reason that people play Last of Us, the story. And like I said, there's not a lot that you can really say about the story that is spoiler free. However, I will do my damnedest to give you my opinion on the story. Now we're getting into the subjective part here. If it was just the technical aspects and the gameplay, right, the objective stuff, this would be a 10 out of 10 game for me. Like, honestly, I have no issue with any of it. None of it. The level design, all of that is superb in this game. It really is. The new upgraded, the sound, the graphics, everything is superb. It would be a 10 out of 10 game. Unfortunately, the story comes in and makes things a little subjective. And I'll say right now, I do not hate the story, right? I made a 30-minute video ranting about the leaks and saying how terrible the game was going to be. And lo and behold, context really does matter. I know, crazy, right? It's almost like you can't just read bullet points and understand an entire 30-hour storyline. It's insane. Context does matter. It improved my opinion of the storyline. However, this storyline is vastly inferior to The Last of Us 1 in every facet. There is no point in this game where it hits Last of Us 1 levels. None. Zip. Nada. I think the worst part of the story, in my opinion, is the characters. In The Last of Us 1, you have some of the best written characters in all of gaming, right? You have characters like Bill, even Marlene, even though she's not in the game a lot. Marlene is a great character. Tess, even though she's not in the game a lot. All of these characters, obviously Joel and Ellie, stars of the show. Even Tommy has layers to him. He's an interesting character. But obviously, Joel and Ellie are the stars for The Last of Us 1. But every single character feels real. They feel like they've been living in this world for 20 years. They feel like they have either grown up in it or they have, you know, rise to the challenge and overcome all of the obstacles for the past 20 years. and they all have immense levels of depth to them. There is not a single character in all of The Last of Us 2 that is introduced that has anywhere near the depth of the characters in Last of Us 1. None. There are 2 child characters that I actually thoroughly enjoyed, and I think they are the best characters in the entire game. Best new characters in the entire game, I should clarify. But even them, I don't feel like they came close to Last of Us 1 levels. And the problem is with the story is that a story is built up with the characters. Your story is nothing without characters. You can have the most interesting world in the entire universe, but if the actual characters living in that world are not something that is relatable to the player or something that the player can at least get behind and enjoy, then you failed. You failed from a narrative standpoint. And they have failed from a narrative standpoint. There's many characters that they try and get you invested in, but it just doesn't work at all. It just falls flat. And once again, this is the subjective part. Some people, they love this stuff. I'm talking about for me. It falls flat completely. I did not feel for any of these characters. If any of these characters were to die, I would not have an effect. Compare that to The Last of Us 1, where Sam and Henry, you only know them for an hour, maybe 2 tops, right? But when they perish, I cried. I really felt genuine empathy for their situation. I felt compassion for them. I saw them as human beings. Any of the characters that are introduced in The Last of Us 2 could die, and I would not cry. I would not have a reaction at all. And to me, that tells me that these characters are one note, they have the depth of a puddle, and they're just not interesting. They're honestly just not. I think the best thing from a story perspective, a lot of people were worried about the Dina and Ellie relationship. How's that gonna pan out? Is it gonna feel like just pandering to the gay community? I don't think it does. I think that's actually probably the best, my favorite part of the new stuff is that I believe their relationship, and I actually did genuinely enjoy it. There was not a moment where I felt that it was unbelievable, even though I think Ellie is very annoying in this game. She's just very depressing and dull and drab and not interesting at all. So from that perspective, I don't know how somebody could actually genuinely be romantically interested in such an individual, but Dina found a way. So good for her. But I think that's the fundamental flaw in The Last of Us 2's narrative is the characters that they try to introduce, they try and make you care about, and they just fail every step along the way in making you feel that way. Other than that, you're jumping around like crazy, just flashback after flashback after flashback, flashbacks inside of more flashbacks. It's actually insane how much flashbacks there are, and as a result, the narrative becomes sort of a jumbled mess. It's tough to talk about without spoilers, but the sequence of events that they chose, I don't know how. I honestly could not tell you how they came to the conclusion of where to put the scenes that they did. For example, at the beginning of the game, like the very opening of the game, they talk about something that happened. You don't see anything about it or hear anything about it. And then at the end of the game, 29 hours later for me, they show the scene. And it has nothing to do with anything. And I'm like, why? Why are you showing this scene now? Like, it honestly makes no sense to me. And that's how I feel about a lot of the narrative. It's like, this game honestly doesn't have a bad story if it was organized in a better manner. But it's so jumbled and so weird, and they just try and swap from something. Once something starts getting interesting and crazy, they're like, okay, let me show you something from back then. And you're just like, it's just really jarring, sort of gives you whiplash in a way. You're just, oh, What the hell? Why am I here now? Why was I not here earlier? It's that sort of thing. It's just very, very jumbled, and I'm not a fan of the way that they construed the narrative. However, I don't think the narrative is bad that they're trying to tell. I'm actually all for two protagonists. I'm all for what they're trying to do with that. I just do not feel as if it is executed properly. On top of that, the final thing that I'll say about the story, when I'm being as, as spoiler-free as possible, is that in this game, characters do things that I don't think they would do. Characters that were in The Last of Us 1 make decisions in this game that are fundamentally against their character that was presented in The Last of Us 1. And even their character that was presented in most of The Last of Us 2. It's very strange. Characters do not feel consistent in this game. And I don't like it. I didn't like it in Final Fantasy VII Remake when, shit would happen that directly went against the character. I'm like, why would they do that? Why would they just let Cloud walk up to Sephiroth like that? Like, that makes no sense. So he can get separated from the group. Like, that makes no sense. Tifa would stop him. Tifa would protect him, right? That sort of shit happens in The Last of Us 2, where it's like, why is the character doing this? I just do not believe that they would do this. And that also relates to shit happens in this game and no one talks about it at all. Like, big shit will happen. Big shit will happen. And it'll be like a thing for, I think I was counting at one of the scenes. It'll be a thing for about like 72 seconds. And then they've already moved on and there's something else. And you're like, wait, are you gonna reference that thing that fucking happened? And they never do. Ever. Not one line of dialogue, not a throwaway line of dialogue about it. Nothing. And it just feels really weird. For a game that's been in development this long, the narrative feels rushed. It feels like they just tried to slam so much stuff into it in such a short amount of time. And as a result, it's a jumbled mess all over the place. But one thing I can say is this game definitely has 10 out of 10 moments in the story. Usually with the flashbacks. Usually it's the flashback stuff. But it most definitely has 10 out of 10 moments. I think if you are a Last of Us 1 fan, you owe it to yourself to at least watch gameplay on this, because it answers the questions we've all been asking for 7 years. All of the questions that you've been asking for 7 years are answered. And they are answered in a way that I feel does them justice. I do feel like we've all been asking these questions, and I'm trying to keep this spoiler free. We've all been asking these questions for so long. What happens after that ending of Last of Us 1? And what does happen in The Last of Us 2? They touch on everything that I wanted them to touch on. They touch on it well, and I was satisfied. With all of that being said, while I'm not the biggest fan of the story, I know what they're trying to do. I like what they're trying to do. I just think it's jumbled up, and the game would be a lot better if they just swapped around a lot of the scenes. The gameplay and all of the objective technical aspects are 10 out of 10. So it's really going to determine, what's really going to determine your score is how you feel about the story. Right? For me, the story's okay. It's serviceable, but I did get some 10 out of 10 moments there. And that's why for me, this game is a solid 7 out of 10. I genuinely think that because the gameplay is so good, for me, because I enjoy that gameplay so much, because it's such a technical masterpiece, and because it does have some 10 out of 10 moments and they address the stuff that I really wanted them to address in a sequel to The Last of Us, I believe it's a good game. case you don't know my score, a 5 for me is average. A 6 is above average. A 7 is a good game. 8 would be a great. 9 would be an amazing. 10 would be a masterpiece. Like Last of Us 1 for me is a 10 out of 10. I truly do think that game is a masterpiece. But I think The Last of Us 2 falters in many ways, mostly with its characters. And that is a huge part of the narrative, which is why it's being docked 3 points for that. Because I just don't feel like the characters hit like they should. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. With all of that being said, that's going to end the spoiler-free part. I just want to get into some spoilers. They're going to be big spoilers. I'm going to get into some spoilers now to sort of explain what I'm talking about with the narrative and why I feel the way that I do. So, hope you're all ready. If you don't want spoilers, go away right now. Alright. Now the spoiler dogs are talking. They fucking killed Joel! What the fuck? They killed Joel! What the hell? Literally all of the leaks were true. And if you've seen my 30-minute video ranting about the leaks, I basically still feel all of that anger and shit about what they're doing. However, like I said earlier, context does matter. A lot of the stuff, like how they killed Joel, I don't think it's wrong with how they killed Joel. Okay? I don't think it's wrong. I think it's wrong when they killed Joel. They killed Joel 3 hours into this game. And if they would have included the flashback scenes with Joel and Ellie, especially that final one that literally made me cry, the final one where, oh man, I'm gonna cry just thinking about it, where Joel's tearing up because Ellie says she's gonna give him a chance. If they included all of that before Joel died, and they built up Abby a little bit more, right, beforehand, they gave her a little bit more time so you can actually understand her reasoning, and then they even give you the flashback with Abby, where she sees that her dad was a surgeon and died. You would have been able to understand Abby, right? You would have been able to understand why she's doing it. You would have been so attached to Joel. And it would have made the player far more conflicted. But at the end of the day, I think most of us would still be fucking pissed and want to kill Abby, right? Which is good. It's what you want. That's the whole reason Joel dies, right? Joel dies, and he dies so early to make the player fucking mad. That's the whole point. All of these people that are raging about it, oh my god, Joel is mad, is dead, I'm so mad. That's good. That means Naughty Dog succeeded. That's what they want. They want you angry. They want you fuming. They want you willing to just fucking murder dogs, humans, pregnant women. They want you willing to fucking kill anyone in your path in order to avenge Joel. And that's what a lot of players feel. It's not what I felt. But that's because I've known Joel died for weeks upon weeks, you know. I've known it for over a month at this point. So it didn't really have the emotional impact that, you know, for the normal player it would have. But I think that if they just put those flashbacks back, they built up Abby a little bit more, it would be totally fine that Joel dies. I think he just dies too early. And I actually had a situation where Joel died so early and I was so mad and so ready to fucking kill everybody. But I got to a point where I was like, you know what? This is just too much fucking effort. Let's go back to Jackson. Like, I had honestly forgave Abby. I was like, you know what? Let's let bygones be bygones. Abby's fucking out here. This is way too much work. Way too much shit's going down. Let's get the fuck out. Because it'd been so long since Joel died. Right? And then Abby shoots Jesse in the face. And I was like, okay, fuck this bitch again. Fuck this bitch again. I fucking hate her. Because Jesse was my favorite character. I really, really like Jesse. I think he is probably the best of the new characters that they've introduced. And he just fucking dies in like 1 second. And when I was talking about they don't address shit, they don't address Jesse at all. You know what you get? You get the fucking baby and they say that he looks like Jesse. Like that's it. And then you get one paper. You get one note from Jesse's parents at the end of the fucking game. And that's all you get. Bro. That's it. And then Dina says his name once. Jesse didn't plan on dying. Joel didn't plan on dying. That's it, dude. There is no sitting on this. Same with Abby, right? They really build up that relationship with Abby and Manny. He's a good buddy. I mean, I fucking hated Manny because he spit on Joel's body. Like, what a piece of shit, right? But they really try and build up their relationship. Oh, you're such a good friend. Oh, I don't know how to react to that. Don't get all emotional on me, right? This motherfucker gets his brains blown out all over Abby's face. Goddamn, looks like some sort of amateur painting just splattering some brains on her face. She drops into cover. She's sitting there, hiding. She's okay, now I'm good. I'm fucking good. Let's go get Tommy now. It's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, they don't linger on any death. The deaths just fucking come in fast. Like Yara, you spent an entire day as Abby getting surgical equipment to save Yara. Amputate her arm, the surgery goes well. Half a day later, she's fucking dead. She just gets gunned down. She gets one tap to the chest. She's laying there. And you're like, okay, maybe she'll fucking live. She better live. I just spent a day and fighting a next level infected in order to get her this surgical stuff. And then she gets fucking firing squatted, gunned down, turned into goddamn mozzarella cheese. Swiss cheese, I don't know. It doesn't fucking matter. The point is, and then they never talk about Yara again. Other than like at the very end, they're like, Yara would have liked that. And that's it. Like, this game does not linger on any deaths. It's full force. And you could make the argument that that's how it is in real life, right? In real life, you get shot in the fucking head like Jesse and you're dead. You're done. It's over. Sure. I agree. That doesn't make for a good narrative, right? I am the biggest crier in video games ever. Anybody that's watched me play video games or watched me react to stuff knows I am a giant crybaby, dude. Total pansy. And I didn't cry at any of the deaths. None. Not a tear, not a get choked up. The only time I cried was the final scene with Joel when he's about to cry. That's the only thing that made me cry. And when I said this game is sometimes a 10 out of 10, every single scene with Joel is a 10 out of 10. There is not one scene with Joel that is not a 10 out of 10. I even think his death is a 10 out of 10. I think it's really good. It's really fucking heartfelt. Makes you feel like shit. However, I do think that they go over it really quickly. But every scene with Joel is a 10 out of 10. Every scene with young Ellie is a 10 out of 10. And it just makes me wish that that was the game that we got, right? It sucks to see like this beautiful vision of a 10 out of 10 video game that we could have that has the spirit and the heart and the voice of The Last of Us 1 with these flashbacks. And then you're just pulled back to this dreary, drab, desolate piece of shit world and characters and boring fucking... It sucks to just be like, man, I'm in this museum with Joel. This is the fucking best time of my life. Oh shit, I'm fucking back here and Ellie's boring as fuck. She lost all of her I don't know what happened in the course of 4 years living in a sheltered village, but somehow she has lost all of her personality. It's not like she's like even in her emo years and she's like 16. This bitch is like 18 or 19. You're out of your emo years by 18 and 19, my dude. You're an adult. Like, where's your emotions? Anyway, I'm just going on a rant now. Those are my issues with, you know, if you want the spoilers. Also, to touch on the ending, like I said, I didn't want her to kill Abby. I really didn't, because I didn't think it was fucking worth it at all. And I really do not like the fact, when I said that characters don't do things that make sense, There's a lot of times where that happens, but the number one spot is Tommy telling Ellie that she needs to go and like getting pissed off. That's not fucking Tommy. That's never been Tommy. Tommy was never like that in Last of Us 1. He's always a chill uncle. He's never like that in Last of Us 2. And actually at the beginning, he is making the case for why they should not avenge Joel, and he's saying not to do it. Like, it makes no sense, dude. It literally goes directly against his character in Last of Us 1 and the majority of Last of Us 2. I get it. Tommy's got a fucked up past, and the guy can get dark, just like Joel, right? I understand that. He used to be the king of the Fireflies. I get it. But it makes no sense for him to come to Ellie, his, basically his niece, and be like, oh, you need to do this. Like, you need to. You promised me. And that's just fucked up. When she has this perfect, idyllic life, there's no way Tommy would do that. It makes no sense. It was literally just put into the game so you could get some sort of reconciliation. And I have no issue with her not killing Abby. I don't think that she should have killed Abby. I don't think she should have even fucking went there. And that entire sequence with the weird biker gang and the slaves, I don't know where the fuck that came from. I don't know what was up with the Rattlers. I don't know why they were in the game. It made no sense. It fell out of left field. I guess the only purpose, literally the only purpose of that scene, or all of that, was to make Abby weak enough for Ellie to be able to fight her. Like, that's fucking it. That's the only reason. Because they know that they showed earlier that Abby would whip the fuck out of Ellie. Just literally Bane, Batman, snap her back over her knee. This bitch is built like the fucking Hulk, okay? Ellie would never stand a chance. And so the only reason that the Rattlers are introduced is to make her into a weird slave for a few months and tie her up, and then she can be weak enough for Ellie to actually stand a chance. And then she still loses 2 of her fucking fingers. Say goodbye to playing the guitar. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really weird narrative decisions, but I feel like a lot of it could be solved by just, I feel like it's a jumbled puzzle, right? It's like one of those, it's like the puzzle in Resident Evil 4 where you have all the panels and you need to like move the panels around to get like the final image. I feel like that's this game. It's fucking jumbled around, and as a result, it sort of has a shitty narrative, but you can see what they're trying to go for. And with, you playing as the bad guy, I really like that idea, the concept, and I really like all of that. But if they were to just move those puzzle pieces around a bit, the game would be substantially better for it. And those are my thoughts. I think it's solidly a 7 out of 10. I think it is a good video game. I think people on both sides are fucking retards. Okay? They're absolute idiots. If you're an extremist, you're an idiot in anything in life, right? If you see the world as black and white, go outside some more, meet some more people, talk to some other people. You'll realize it's not. It's shades of gray. And it's the exact same thing with video games. This game isn't a 0 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10. Look at the graphics, look at the performance, look at the sound design, look at all of that. It's impossible for this to be a 1 out of 10. It's actually impossible just because of the objective technical aspects of the game. A 1 out of 10 is something that will literally install a goddamn key tracker, some sort of Trojan on your device, and just completely wipe your hard drive and upload it, and your identity will be stolen. Okay, that's a 1 out of 10. That is some fucking malware shit. Okay, 2 out of 10, that's like, ooh, you won't believe, you'll come in 10 seconds type of game, right? There's no way it's a 1 or a 2 out of 10. Okay, there's no way. The worst rating you could give this game is like a 3 out of 10. That is just like a really bad game. And I don't think it's even a 3 out of 10. I think the worst realistically you could give it is a 4, which is below average. And if you're giving it a 10 out of 10, that's your right to do so. And I'm fine with people giving it a 10 out of 10. 1 out of 10, I'm not fine with. That's just fucking stupid. If you give it a 10 out of 10, that's fine. If you really enjoy the narrative, that's fine. However, if you start to say that anybody that doesn't think it's a 10 out of 10 is a homophobe, or they hate the trans community, or they're bigots in general, or haters, like, that's where you're a fucking idiot, okay? Don't demonize people just because they don't have the same opinion as you, alright? I'm fine if you don't like the game. I'm fine if you love the game. I'm fine if you're like me and you just like the game, right? But don't try and denounce other people because they have a different viewpoint than you. That's fucking stupid, right? And that's how you become stupid, is by putting yourself in an echo chamber with people that only see the exact same views as you. Variety is the spice of life. Talk to people with different opinions, understand their opinions, understand their viewpoints, and that will make you a better human being in the long run, okay? So the 1 out of 10 people saying, oh, if you like this game, then you're an SJW, fucking PC cuck, and you suck Neil Druckmann's dick, and Anita Sarkeesian's railing you in the ass. You're an idiot. The people that are 10 out of 10, oh, if you don't like this game, you're a homophobe, and you fucking hate the gays, and you're an idiot. Okay? We understand. There's no need for extremism. This game should not be getting review bombed on fucking Metacritic because retards have only seen 3 hours of the game and wait, video game character I liked, I did. I'm mad. That's fucking stupid, dude. Play the entire game, get the full context, and then form your opinion, right? At least watch the entire game to form your entire opinion, right? And then you'll realize that even if you fucking despise the storyline, there's still so many objective pros to this game, it's impossible to give it a 1 out of 10. That's just stupid. Okay? Okay? Alright. That'll do it for the review. Thank you everybody for watching and have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye-bye.